In the past year, while the planet has grown a little less green, our interiors have gone in the opposite direction. Cafes, stores, menus, even aesthetics. Everything is greener. Everything is matcha. That's the Matcha Effect. In just 1 year, matcha didn't just trend, it took over the internet. Trader Joe's is selling matcha lemonade. Kit Kat dropped a matcha chocolate. There's a matcha toothpaste. And there's even a matcha Pokemon. And honestly, the hype isn't random. Matcha is loaded with antioxidants, packed with vitamins and minerals, and gives you a calmer caffeine hit than coffee. But like every obsession the internet falls in love with, there's a darker side brewing underneath.
Matcha prices are expected to at least go up 50%, if not double.
Record-breaking heat has slashed the country's matcha green tea output this year.
Matcha is like a super drink that can boost your metabolism, improve your focus, even prevent cancer.
Celebrities are raving about it. Social media is filled with matcha trends.
Just proceed to ram it into everything that we can possibly imagine.
Welcome to the Sleuthing Scams, and today we will be talking about the Matcha Effect. It takes a lot of effort, time and heart to bring these videos for you, so kindly hit that subscribe button. Matcha is one of those rare ingredients that manage to stay deeply traditional for centuries, and then suddenly become global almost overnight. For most of its history, matcha was inseparable from Japanese culture. It was tied to tea ceremonies, mindfulness, discipline, and a very specific way of consuming tea. But over the last decade, especially in the US, matcha has quietly crossed that cultural boundary and turned into a mainstream obsession. If you look at Google's search trends, matcha searches have been steadily climbing since the early 2000s. That slow rise is important because it shows this wasn't a random, viral spike. It brewed slowly, built curiosity, and then exploded once the conditions were right. And like most modern food trends, matcha followed a very familiar pattern. Something deeply rooted in another culture gets rediscovered, rebranded, and repackaged for a new audience. We've seen this play out before. Crumble cookies didn't invent cookies, they reinvented the experience around them. The Dubai chocolate craze didn't invent chocolate either. It sold indulgence, luxury, and spectacle. These trends aren't about novelty as much as they are about presentation, storytelling, and tapping into emotion. Matcha fits perfectly into this formula. By the way, we've created a video about the Labubu scam. Do have a look at it by clicking on the top right corner. At its core, matcha already had everything marketers dream of. It was exotic but not unfamiliar. It had history, ritual, and authenticity. Most importantly, it had a health halo. Antioxidants, calmer caffeine, mental clarity, fewer crashes. In a world burned out by sugary energy drinks and aggressive coffee culture, matcha arrived as the calmer, greener alternative. Once that narrative clicked, things moved fast. Between 2019 and 2024, the global matcha market grew from around $2.5 billion to over $4.3 billion. Cafes dedicated entirely to matcha started popping up. Existing coffee chains had no choice but to integrate it into their menus. Matcha lattes, matcha lemonades, matcha desserts, matcha ice cream, even matcha-flavoured snacks. If it could be dyed green, it probably was. And this is where matcha stopped being just an ingredient and became a habit. People weren't just trying it once for curiosity. They were building routines around it, going out of their way to specific cafes, ordering the same drink every morning, replacing coffee entirely. That's the moment a trend becomes dangerous in the best and worst ways. Because habits create reliable demand, and reliable demand attracts aggressive, profit-seeking behaviour. This is where the first ugly crack appears. The main selling point of matcha was always health, clean energy, antioxidants, and a more balanced caffeine experience. But as soon as large corporations stepped in, that promise started getting diluted. Take the standard matcha latte from Starbucks. It contains around 29 grams of sugar. That's more sugar than a can of Red Bull. At that point, you're no longer drinking matcha for health. You're drinking dessert with green branding. This isn't unique to matcha, but it's especially ironic here. A product celebrated for calm, balance, and wellness is being transformed into just another sugar delivery system. And yet, the branding still whispers words like clean, natural, and healthy. Consumers feel like they're making a better choice, even when the numbers say otherwise. But sugar isn't even the biggest problem matcha is facing. The real problem is its future. Matcha looks like an evergreen trend. It feels timeless. Tea has been around forever, so why would matcha disappear? The issue is that not all matcha is the same, and the world is rapidly forgetting the role of scarcity in this equation. Authentic matcha comes from Japan, particularly regions like Uji, Nishio, and Shizuoka. These places aren't just locations on a map. They represent a specific climate, soil composition, and centuries-old farming knowledge. High-quality matcha is made from shade-grown tea leaves. Weeks before harvest, tea plants are covered to block sunlight. This slows growth, boosts chlorophyll, and increases amino acids like L-theanine, which give matcha its smooth taste and calming effect. This process is slow and extremely labour-intensive. Shade growing requires special equipment and precise timing. Only the youngest, most tender leaves are selected, often by hand. After harvesting, the leaves are steamed, dried, deveined, and then stone ground into powder. One traditional stone mill can take nearly an hour to grind just 30 grams of matcha. That's enough for roughly 20 cups. Now imagine scaling that. You can't. At least not quickly, and not without destroying what makes matcha special in the first place. And this is where demand starts to outpace reality. Global orders are increasing, but real matcha production has hard physical limits. You can't rush the shade growing process. You can't automate centuries of craftsmanship overnight. The result is something the industry is now openly acknowledging: a matcha shortage. Climate change is making this worse. Tea growing regions in Japan are experiencing abnormal weather patterns. Intense heat, irregular rainfall, and early blooming cycles are damaging crops. A single late frost can wipe out 20 to 30% of a year's harvest. When your supply chain is already tight, losses like that are devastating. There's also a hard geographical limit. Only about 5% of Japan's land is suitable for tea farming. You can't just expand endlessly without compromising quality. Every shortcut taken reduces flavour, nutrients, and authenticity. And yet, global demand keeps rising. So what happens when demand explodes but supply can't keep up? Prices go up, availability drops, and corners get cut. Some brands have started quietly switching to lower grade matcha, often sourced from China, or blending small amounts of Japanese matcha with cheaper alternatives to stretch supply. For context, in 2023, China produced around 10,000 metric tons of matcha, compared to Japan's roughly 4,000. The difference isn't just quantity, it's quality. Much of China's production is culinary-grade matcha, designed for baking or flavouring. The highest quality Japanese matcha is ceremonial grade, meant to be consumed on its own. Ceremonial grade matcha is the purest form, and its wholesale prices have risen by 25 to 35% over the past 2 years alone. Retail brands are now stuck in a pricing dilemma. Either way, the golden green powder is getting more expensive, and consumers are going to feel it. For everyday buyers, this likely means prices could double in the coming years. For businesses, it means tougher sourcing decisions. Transparency is about to become a battleground. At the same time, expect a flood of matcha-adjacent products. Items that don't contain real matcha at all, but borrow the branding, the colour, and the wellness narrative. Green aesthetics will do a lot of heavy lifting. What makes this situation even more fragile is the human element. According to reports, fewer than 150 families in Japan are associated with harvesting ceremonial grade matcha. These families carry generations of knowledge. Producing premium matcha isn't just farming, it's craftsmanship. It requires precision, intuition, and experience passed down over centuries. Even packaging has become a problem. Matcha is extremely sensitive to light, heat, and humidity. And then there's geopolitics. US tariffs and trade policies will likely push prices even higher, adding pressure at every point of the supply chain. So in short, the world's obsession with matcha is colliding with reality. Japan has limited land, limited farmers, limited machinery, and an increasingly hostile climate. Meanwhile, global demand grows stronger every day. Kindly hit that subscribe button and don't forget to click the bell icon.